Hi, my name is Amber, and this is my review for Gemina by Amie Kaufman and Kristoff. First off, I was lucky enough to receive this through Books for Trade, actually, which is still insane to me that that's how I received this book. But I was lucky enough to have the person that I traded with get it signed for me, so it is signed and personalized, which I love. First off, if you have not read Illuminate, please leave. This is going to be spoiling Illuminate. End this. So right now I'm going to do a spoiler-free kind of section towards this, so if you haven't read Gemina, you're fine right now, and I will let you know when spoilers start. Overall, while I still slightly like the first one better, this one was still as amazing and fantastic and mind-blowing and thrilling and chilling as the first one was. While no, the story is not based around the original characters from the first book, you do kind of see them throughout the story a little bit. They are not the main focus. You are learning new characters and a new story on a new ship. And it honestly, while I was missing the other characters still, I was completely fine learning about these characters. I did give this 5 out of 5 stars, but now into the more spoilery section, so if you have not read this yet, please leave and come back when you have. Now, while I kind of agree with the fact that you don't really have to read the first one to read the second one, I don't understand why you wouldn't, because I feel like you understand the characters and the plot and the world so much better once you've read the first one. Now, when this starts off and we are learning about Hannah and her relationship with Jackson, I automatically knew that something was going to happen to where Jackson was just not going to be there anymore, or something was going to happen to where she wasn't going to be with him anymore, because there was no way she wasn't going to be with Nick. There was just no way. I couldn't vision that just right off the bat, even learning about Jackson and seeing their relationship, and I just felt like she probably would go for Nick in the beginning, before I knew anything else that happened. She would go for Nick just because personality-wise I think they click better, and that's just off of the short little conversations that we see in the beginning. It wasn't until the ship was starting to get invaded that I really thought that Jackson was part of that. I honestly thought he was in that room, even though I thought he was still working with them. So I thought it was kind of strange as soon as they said that he just wasn't in that room to begin with, and that he was just basically lying to her the entire time after the invasion. I hated the character of Jackson, for good reason. Even with the very end and learning he helped them in a small way, he's part of the reason why this happened in the first place, and there's no way to deny that. Even if you didn't know what was happening, you're technically working for the bad guys. Just stop trying to be the nice guy. You're the bad guy. I'm not going to like you no matter what you do. I mean, I'm glad it ended the way it did, but I'm sorry, I still don't like you. There's no slight bit of help quality to this character. He was terrible and horrible, and the fact that he was still trying to be with her even after everything that he had done was just insane to me, that he would even think that would happen, that her of all people, personality wise, would ever just be like, oh, that's fine, okay, you did all this stuff and basically are the reason my father was killed, but fine. And about Hannah's father, definitely did not see him dying that quickly. When they invade and he calls him up, I thought maybe they're gonna hold him hostage or just kind of, you know, make sure he's not going to help the rest of the ship or do anything like that. The fact that he just shot him point blank with no questions, no nothing, they just straight to his death, was so insane to me, and I honestly, I froze from, wow, this is happening. There's going to be a lot of death. I automatically see that as soon as he is dead. At the beginning, before her father dies, and Nick is trying to help them on board without realizing that he's helping them on board, once he leaves to go meet up with her, I knew they were all going to die. You just automatically assume that all of the rest of the characters that are in there are about to die. There's no way they're leaving them hostage. And there's this part where you're just sad for Nick, because this is his family, but these are horrible people, so it's kind of okay. You don't really think about it throughout the rest of the story. They're dead, and that's whatever. You just kind of move on. All the conversations in the entire relationship between Nick and Hannah were hilarious. All of the text message, all of the whisper net, all of everything just had me dying, because they're really funny together. Have such smart aleck personalities and are just so witty and quick and speak their mind, and that's just it. Even Ella as a character was just hilarious and funny to me for such a young kid, and for all the stuff that she's been through. She's so quick-witted and so helpful to them throughout this entire experience. And for Ella's situation where she almost dies in this universe, part of me honestly thought that she did, that was it. Even though there's always that part in your brain that's like, if you don't see the murder in a book, it doesn't count, and it didn't happen, and they're alive still, and they're going to come back eventually. That was one of those situations where I was like, she's probably still alive, but part of me really thinks she's dead, and that's it, because I can see them just cutting her off completely and just being done with it. The creatures that they have that are the reason why this drug is made, I honestly can't remember what they were called at the moment. Those honestly freaked me out worse than the virus in the first book. Just, they're so creepy sounding, and the way they were described, it's just so dark and strange, and they're just teeth and mouths and claws, and you just imagine this squirmy, weird creature that I honestly would much rather deal with the horrible killing everybody version of Aiden and all of the virus that was going on in Illuminae than I would with those things in Gemina. Seeing the little transcripts of video surveillance throughout this, in Illuminae I don't remember that much video surveillance as in this, which I mean makes sense for the plot. It's a lot harder to explain what's happening in a scene without it being video surveillance, since they don't use text in a decent amount of this than they did. The same video surveillance guy from the first book is back in most of this, and I was so happy about that because this guy will have you cracking up the entire time. It will be the most devastating, brutal scene where so many people are dying and there's blood everywhere, and he will still have you laughing just because of the way he describes things. But it was interesting seeing how they switched some of his talk of the video surveillance to Aiden, and seeing Aiden's descriptions of video surveillance brought back the feel of Aiden's personality in Illuminae and how he describes things. So just, I don't even know the word I need for this, because he describes things in such a way that seems so human but not at the same time. It's beautifully written and beautifully thought out, and it's definitely not as funny as the other video surveillance footages, but he definitely gets you into a different mindset when listening to those clips than you do with his. And I think that was really nice to bring in, so that way in certain scenes you didn't have as much humor. You had, this is what's happening, this is the solemn moment, and you need to focus on how sad and extreme things are right now. It was really great having him in there, even though it was only through a few little moments every now and then. It wasn't really his full personality, it was just him talking about what was happening in the video surveillance. I honestly thought that was going to be it, that there's a couple of moments where you hear about Katie and her father's on board Heimdall, which was so interesting to see him throughout this, but not really Katie throughout most of it. But you kind of get that shot into there, but I honestly never thought that we would see them for the rest of the book. I had this hope that we would, but I honestly thought it was just going to be a few little bits for Aiden and then nothing else. That was going to be it. Being able to actually bring in Katie and Ezra and have them part of the story and have them talking to the new characters and having all of them figure out this journey together was amazing. All of these characters are hilarious and tough, and they have gone through so much and they are still rising above and still struggling and still fighting, and it was so nice to see all of them come together and fight together and form this Illuminate group to be able to bring down the bad guys and really triumph and win. There's a moment when Nick comes back after the wormhole gets turned back on, where Aiden describes him as not being real, even though she doesn't know he's not real. And at that moment, everything from Illuminae, where Aiden was faking being Ezra, automatically comes into my mind. When it comes to Nick's death, I wasn't even thinking about that. I was sitting there tearing up going, well, he's dead. They've officially killed the main character. It wasn't until a certain situation, conversations were happening between Katie and Ezra, that I honestly started thinking, well, no, he's not actually dead. And once that was confirmed, I was cheering. I was so ready for them to find him and bring him back. Once Nick is back and they are working out what's going to happen to get them to the other ship, we have the entire letter from Jackson or Samuel or whatever his name actually is, where he's describing what happened. I honestly thought that was real. And then Hannah comes over the intercom in the courtroom, and I realized that they got me again, just like they did in the end of Illuminae. The very last line we get in this book is Hannah saying, "Do you want to know how it ends?" And then that's it. And I honestly closed the book and just went, no, I can't wait. I need the next book. I thoroughly enjoyed this book so much, and if you've read this, please let me know your thoughts down below. That is all my thoughts on this short review for Gemina. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time.